Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer, Perek Lamed Hey. We're holding in the middle of the Perek. Just a little bit of a background before we start the next discussion. So, we're talking about Yaakov Avinu leaving his father's house and going to Haran. That's basically the story we're going to be discussing now, going back to the narrative of Yaakov Avinu. There's an interesting thing that we can actually calculate the age of Yaakov Avinu when he came to Haran, that he was 77 years old. We can calculate it backwards from knowing how old Yaakov Avinu was when he died, and how long he spent in Mitzrayim, and how old Yosef was. We can make a synchronization, and when Yosef was born, and when the other Shotim were born, which is really the next parak. We can figure out that Yaakov Avinu was 77 years old when he came to Haran. It's an interesting thing that in Seder Olam proves that Yaakov Avinu was 63 years old when he left his parents' house. The Mahalach of Seder Olam is basically, it's brought in Rashi in the end of Parshas Toldos a little bit, and then it's brought again in Rashi in the end of Parshas Chayesara and the end of Parshas Toldos. Rashi, in the two places together, you can see what Rashi is trying to say. Now, what does Seder Olam say? Seder Olam says that Yaakov Avinu was 63 years old when he left his parents' home, because of the fact that Yishmael was 137 when he died. Yishmael was 137 years old when he died, and Yaakov Avinu was 63 years old when Yishmael was 137. Because Yishmael was 14 years older than Yitzchak, and Yitzchak was 60 when Yaakov Avinu was born. So if you make the cheshbon, it comes out that Yaakov Avinu was 63 years old when Yishmael was 137. And when the pasuk in the end of Parshas Toldos says that Yaakov Avinu ran away, so right after it says that he ran away, it says that Esav went and he married a daughter of Yishmael, Mochas bas Yishmael, Achois Nevayos, the sister of Nevayos, and that's who Esav married. And the Seder Olam says, why does it call her Achois Nevayos, the sister of Nevayos? Just say Mochas bas Yishmael. Why does it say who her brother was? So the Seder Olam says, from here you learn that at that time when Esav married her, that's when Yishmael died. And the Seder Olam assumes that Esav marrying Mochlas bas Yishmael happened at the same time that Yaakov Avinu ran away, which also happened at the same time that Yishmael died. So from that you learn that Yaakov Avinu was 63 years old when he ran away from his parents' home. That's the cheshbon of the Seder Olam. Fine. The question is, we just said before that I can prove to you from the Psukim that Yaakov Avinu was 77 years old when he got to Haran. So if he left when he was 63 and he got there when he was 77, what was he doing for 14 years? So because of that, the Seder Olam says, and Rashi brings this down in Chumash, that from here you learn that Yaakov Avinu was in the Beis Medrash of Shem and he learned there for 14 years. That's where it comes from, because of this problem in the cheshbonos.
Comes from the problem as an answer to the problem. It doesn't come from a source that he was there, that he went there to learn.
Okay, obviously, it's a Messiah that Seder Olam had, but this is where we bring it out. That Messiah comes to answer this question in how to understand the Psukim. Now, we're going to see that the Medrash over here might be saying something else. Let's start.
It's not a forced answer to not a kind of a forced answer to what did you do at 14? Let's say that he was learning.
No, so I would assume that
because there was this 14 years that we couldn't match. Right. So it's just those 14 years are here.
Right. It's some sort of Messiah that whoever wrote Seder Olam, Rabbi Yosef ben Chalafta, the Tana of Rabbi Yosef ben Chalafta, he had a Messiah, and that's how he proved this Messiah by putting all these things together and showed how the Psukim already show you that there is such a Messiah. What? And no, Rashi, in all of Rashi in Tanakh, Rashi always goes with Seder Olam. If there's ever a machlekes in the chronology, Rashi will always go with Seder Olam, as far as I know. It could be, if you find something where Rashi doesn't seem like he's going with Seder Olam, that would be very interesting to see. But let's see what the Medrash says over here. Ben Shivim B'Sheva Shana Hoya Yaakov B'Tzeisei Mi Beis Aviv. Yaakov Avinu was 77 years old when he left the house of his father. Now this is slightly problematic, because we said that Seder Olam understood that Yaakov was 63 years old when he left. He was 77 when he got to Haran, but he was 63 years old when he left the house of his father. So the Zayis ran on the Yalkut Shemaini in Bereshis Remez Kufyot Tes when it brings this medrash, and also the Bayis HaGadol over here. Most of the Mefarshim, and it seems like the Radal also has a tzad to say this, they understand that Yaakov Avinu was 63 when he left, and he was 77 when he got to Haran. And there were 14 years where he learned in Sheva Eber, and Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer is going with that. It didn't speak out the whole cheshbon. It means 77 when he was going to Haran, but it means he was really 63 and then he went to Sheva Eber for 14 years, etc. It's not really a machlokes. You could say in some ways that learning in the Yeshiva of Shem Eber was an extension of being in the house of his father. You could say that maybe Yitzchak Avinu paid the tuition, so he's still learning. He's still in his house, his father's house by Shem Eber. And then when he left Shem Eber to go to Chor, and then he was like mamish leaving his parents' house.
His parents' gracious.
Right.
There's a parent that sends the kids to learn, not the world.
Right. However, Lamaisa, the Radal says, or you could say that what it means Beis Aviv, it means Eretz Yisrael. Meaning, he literally left his parents' house at 63, but he was still in Eretz Yisrael for another 14 years in the house of Shem Eber, in the Beis Medrash Shem Eber, and then when he was 77, he went to Haran. And we're talking about him leaving Shem Eber to go to Haran. We're calling it he left his father's house, meaning he left the land of his father. He left Eretz Yisrael, and then that's when he was 77. That's what the Radal, one of the pshatim that the Radal wants to say.
There's a problem with different portions. I don't know if you can count that, but in Lech Lecha, when it says Yaakov Avinu, he left.
Yeah.
And then there's the base of Eve and whatever.
Right.
And now they're not talking about Eretz Yisrael. They're not talking about the place. It says also that he was leaving the country.
True, but over here it doesn't really say. It says Beis Aviv. It doesn't say Eretz Aviv or Eretz Yisrael. So it's a little bit more problematic to say there. The Radal wants to say that Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer over here disagrees with the Seder Olam. Seder Olam says Yaakov Avinu was 63 when he left, went to Sheva Eber for 14 years, and then when he was 77, got to Haran. The Radal says that Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer disagreed and said no, but all the way till he was 77, he was by his father, and then he went straight to Haran. He never went to Shem Eber. That 14 years, that's just included in Yaakov Avinu being by his parents' house. And so we have a machlokes of your Seder Olam and Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer. Was Yaakov Avinu 63 when he left his parents' house, or was he 77 when he left his parents' house? So what can we say how to understand the amkus of the machlokes? How can we understand what's causing these two different opinions over here? So I thought of one of two pshatim. Either you could say that the Seder, both of these pshatim are based on the assumptions that Seder Olam makes. The first is like this: Seder Olam makes an assumption that the same time that Yaakov Avinu left his father's house, that's when Esav married the daughter of Yishmael. And because Seder Olam is going to understand that at the time that Esav married the daughter of Yishmael died, right, and Yishmael was 137 when he died, so you see that Yaakov Avinu was 63. But what if Esav married the daughter of Yishmael before Yaakov Avinu left? He married the daughter of Yishmael, and Yishmael died then, whatever, and Yaakov Avinu was 63 when that happened. But not necessarily, that's not kashur to Yaakov Avinu leaving. So maybe Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer understood that those were two separate events. Esav marrying the daughter of Yishmael and Yaakov Avinu leaving, they didn't happen at the same time. So now you don't have a raya that he was 63 years old. Lamai said if you say like that, it's a little bit difficult because the psukim said that Yaakov Avinu left, and then the next pasuk says that Esav married the daughter of Yishmael. So it sounds like from the psukim that they happened at the same time. But if they ain't muktam u'muchal v'tayra, which we do say that in some places, so you can say that happened before he left. Of course, you would have to explain why did the Cherub write it afterwards or whatever. That I don't know how to explain it. But the second shah we could say is that Seder Olam is making the assumption that when Esav married the daughter of Ishmael, that's when Ishmael died. Right? So we could say, no, maybe Ishmael died beforehand. Maybe Ishmael died before Esav married her. And when Ishmael died when he was 137 and Yaakov Avinu was 63, that's when Ishmael died. And later on, when Yaakov Avinu was 77, that's when Esav married the daughter of Ishmael. And we could say that he married the daughter of Ishmael at the same time that Yaakov Avinu left. And then you don't have a steer. You still don't have a proof that Yaakov Avinu was 63 because Ishmael died a long time ago, 14 years before. So one of these two mahalchim probably would be the best shot in the Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer, why it says that Yaakov Avinu was 77 and the Seder Olam says he was 63. I found an academic edition of Seder Olam from Dr. Chaim Milakovsky. He's a professor in Bar Ilan. He used to be the son-in-law of Rav Shmuel Rozovsky, the Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich. So Dr. Milakovsky points out that there's another ancient book like Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer that says that Yaakov Avinu was 77 when he left his parents' house. He brings a book from a Jewish Greek chronographer, a historian named Demetrius the chronographer, and he writes that Yaakov Avinu was 77 when he left his parents' house. So whatever Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer is saying, there's already an ancient source. This Demetrius lived in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, which predates Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer by Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer was written at the end of the second Beis Hamikdash. This was written about 200 BCE. So this predates Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer by 200 years. So you see, there's some sort of Messiah also that says that he was 77. Okay, whatever. Let's go ahead.
How many years before?
Well,
How many years before?
200 years before Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer. Okay, let's go back to V'haisab habe'er mahalachas lefanav, and the be'er, the well of water, went in front of Yaakov Avinu, like we spoke about in last week's share that you weren't here, that the be'er would go in front of the tzaddikim. Be'er shava ad har hamayriya mahalach shnei yamim, and he went from Be'er Shava, or the Be'er went from, and he went from Be'er Shava, that's where Yaakov Avinu and Yitzchak's family was living, from Be'er Shava till Har Moriah. See, it says that Yaakov Avinu was leaving from Be'er Shava. If he was learning by Shem for 14 years, he would be living from Be'er Shava. He would be living from wherever the Yeshiva of Shem was. Right? Yitzchak lived in Be'er Shava, but Yaakov Avinu, he wasn't in Be'er Shava. He was somewhere else. He was by Shem. So again, the Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer understood that.
Where's the Shiva?
I don't know, but Pashtus not in Be'er Shava, no?
I don't know, because when it says that Rivka, that went, by the Yeshiva and by the Zorah, whatever happened to Esav and Yaakov, so it could be that she was so far off home.
I know. I'm pretty sure that Sefer Yashar expands on that story and might say where Shem and Aver were located. Shem, we've said before, was Melchizedek, who was the king of Yerushalayim. Mm-hmm. So maybe Shem and Aver was in Yerushalayim. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was elsewhere. I don't know. I'm not sure. When if Melchizedek is Shem and Shem was the king. Okay, but that was also like 100 years earlier. Not 100 years earlier, but yeah, close to 100 years earlier. Could be he wasn't king anymore. We don't find anywhere after that story. After Avraham Avinu's lifetime, we don't find that Shem was the king of Yerushalayim anymore. But fine, whatever. The kids are. V'higia b'chatzi hayoim l'sham, and so Yaakov Avinu was going from Beersheba to Har Moriah, which is a journey of a 2 days journey, and he got there in half a day. B'chatzi hayoim higia l'sham, he got there in the middle of the day, a half day, at midday. That's when he got there. Ufagavay Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Kadosh Baruch Hu met him. Shnei, it says the pasuk, vayivka b'makom vayalin sham kiva shemesh. He reached the place. And he slept there because the sun had come. We're going to explain what that means. But so the pasuk says Vayetze Yaakov Beersheba HaEl HaKadosh, right? The opening words of Parshas Vayetze. And then it says Vayivka b'makom. He reached the place. So here we're darshaning that the place, the makom, doesn't literally mean the place where he went to. Rather, the place is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is called the place. Hamokim Yenachem Esnarei, Baruch Hamokim Baruch Hu, Hashem is called the place. So Vayivka B'Mokim means he reached Hashem. Hashem greeted him. Hashem greeted him at Har Moriah, and we're going to see in a few minutes exactly what did Hashem tell Yaakov Avinu there. We mentioned just a few points. We mentioned over here that we'll tell you this. Rabbi Leomei Izmir asked a question. He says, "What do you mean Hashem?" Okay, we'll skip that point for now. We'll say over this point. Hachu. We say that the distance from Beersheba to Har Moriah is 2 days. It's a journey of 2 days. So the Radal asks a question that by Avraham Avinu, he was living in Beersheba, and when he went to go do a Kedes Yitzchak, so it says that Bayam Shlishi, on the 3rd day, he got to Har Moriah. So you see, it takes 3 days, not 2 days. So the Radal says that no, what it means that it was on the 3rd day, it means the beginning of the 3rd day. He traveled for Avraham Avinu traveled for 2 days, and on the 3rd day, the beginning of the 3rd day, that's when he got to Har Moriah. So really, it's a journey of 2 days. That's what the Radal says. I wanted a time that maybe you could say that Avraham Avinu was, a pretty old man. He was 137 when he was going to Kedes Yitzchak, so maybe he was walking a little bit slower. So when the Medrash says over here that it's a 2-day journey, that's for an average person. But someone who's older, it might take him more than 2 days. Avraham Avinu took 3 days. Okay, whatever. So there's another thing the Gemara says in Mesachas Chulin, Daf Sadak Aleph Amud Beis. The Gemara explains the psukim that I just read before from Parshas Vayetze a little bit differently. The Gemara says Vayetze Yaakov in Beersheba vayelech harana, and then it says Vayivka b'mokim. Right? So first it says Vayetze Yaakov Beersheba vayelech harana. He left Beersheba and he went to Haran, and then it says that he got to the place. Wait a second. It already says that he went to Haran. Now why does it say he got to the place? So to Har Moriah, he already went to Haran. So the Gemara says what happened was Yaakov Avinu went to Haran. He already got there. And then he said, "Is it possible that I passed through the place where my forefathers had davened, had prayed, and I didn't go pray?" So then he decided that he wants to go back to Har Moriah to go daven there. And then the Gemara says that the moment that he decided that, he had a special kfitzas derech, and he reached the place. Vayifka b'mokim means he reached the place. The place greeted him. Not Hashem greeted him, Hamokim meaning the Hashem, rather the place greeted him. Hashem folded the earth so that Yaakov Avinu would greet it. Yaakov Avinu is standing over here in Haran, and then Hashem sort of folded the earth so that this place, Har Moriah, would reach him, and that the place reached him. And he got to Har Moriah. Not so our Medrash says that no, stop. On his way, he stopped off in Har Moriah. The Gemara says no, he went to Haran and then he decided to go back, and then he went back to Har Moriah. Slightly different. The Mizrahi, the Parshas Vayetze, Parak Chav Ches Pasuk Yud Zayin, the Mizrahi points out that it's a machlekes between our Gemara and Chulin and this Medrash Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer. Fine. Okay, so we said that the Hashem Pirkei DeRabbi Eliezer says that Hashem greeted him, right? And we said Vayifka b'mokim means Hashem greeted him. V'lama nikra shemay mokim. Why is Hashem called the mokim, the place? Ela b'chol mokim shazadikim sham hu nimtza imahem. Rather, the reason why Hashem is called the place is to teach us that any place where the tzaddikim are there, Hashem is with them. It says the pasuk b'chol ha'makom asher azkir es shemi. At any place where I mention my name, avoy elecha v'yachticha. That's the end of the pasuk. Wherever Hashem's name is mentioned, Hashem is going to go there. So wherever the tzaddikim are, and the Radal says there's a different case of where the tzaddikim stand. That's b'moksha tzaddikim oimdim, which the Radal explains means where they stand, where they make a kviyas that they're going to go and they're going to daven there, or they're going to learn there. The tzaddikim make it like this is their place for learning or davening. Yeah. So that's where Hashem is going to come, but not stam wherever the tzaddikim are. Hashem is, because then if that's true, then wherever Yaakov Avinu was, then Hashem is already with him. So why does it say, oh, now he got to Har Moriah and Hashem greeted him? Hashem was with him wherever he was. So it means wherever the tzaddikim are kaveya, where they set themselves down as this is a place of prayer or this is a place of learning, that's where Hashem is. Belio Me'izmer asks a question. He says, "What do you mean? Wherever the tzaddikim are, so Hashem is. Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is even where the Rishayim are. So why are you saying wherever the tzaddikim are, Hashem? Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is truly everywhere, right? It's a Beferish song, Uncle Moshe song.
Could it mean the Shekhinah?
Possibly.
Because like we said in this week's Pirkei Avos, if two people are learning Torah, the Shekhinah is there.
Yeah.
That in other places the Shekhinah isn't.
It It could be.
And by Rishayim, the Shekhinah is not there. And
So it actually, in my Sefer Yevamis, I spoke about that Mishnah in Avos, and there's if you look at the Chassid Yaibitz on that Mishnah, he asked different places in Chazal where it sounds like that you need more people to have Shekhinah come, more than two. There's a Gemara in Yevamis that says you need 600,000 people for the Shekhinah to come, because it says Uvunuchu Yermar Shuv Hashem Revavos Alfei Yisrael, and Revavos tells you that it has to be 600,000 people, whatever. So and there's other places that say even one person who's sitting and learning the Shekhinah comes. So the Chassid Yaibitz says there's different dargas of Hashras HaShekhinah, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but it could be this is what Rabbi Eliezer is saying. I don't know exactly what his answer is. He says like by the tzaddikim, so it's not, the Shekhinah is not hidden. By Rishoyim, the Shekhinah is there, but it's hidden. I'm not sure exactly what these things mean. This is something to think about. Fine. Omar loy HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem said to Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov, halechem betzikloimcha. The bread is in your basket. Or the Radal says, that's what the Marzuz says. The Radal says that tzikloimcha means some sort of clothing. It's like the bread is in your pocket, something like that. V'be'er lefonecha, and the well is in front of you. Lechal v'lishtetz v'makem esef, for you to drink and to eat in this place. So, it's like someone comes into your house, he's a guest. So you tell him, no, sit down, make him a zoyness, have something to drink. That's what Hashem is telling Yaakov Avinu. You're here by Har Moriah, the mountain of Hashem. So Hashem says to him, Yaakov Avinu, please come, sit down, eat something, drink something. Now we see the godless of Yaakov Avinu. Omar Lefano, he sat there in front of Hashem. Master of the universe. Achshav, lo yorad Hashemesh chamishim yeridois. V'ani sheichev b'mokim. What, you want me to... The sun hasn't gone down 50 degrees, and you want me to sit down and lay down in this place? Meaning like this. Hashem's telling Yaakov, no, sit down, eat, drink, make yourself at home over here in Har Moriah. But Rabbi Eliezer has a whole pshat over here that the reason is because when a tzaddik eats, it's like a korban. So Yaakov on his way to Haran, he was robbed by one of Esav's grandsons. By Eliphaz. So Yaakov didn't have anything with him, so he would have brought a korban, but he didn't have anything to bring as a korban. So Hashem is giving him a chance, like if you sit and eat. So the Mefarshim say that a tzaddik who eats is like he's bringing a korban. There's a Gemara in the Yuma that says, "Kol mamalik groni shel tamidei chachamim yayin ki'ilu menasche lefnei mizbeach." If you feed a Talmid Chacham, it's as if you brought yayin on the mizbeach. So it's the same idea. When a tzaddik eats, it's like he's eating. It's like he's bringing a korban. So Hashem is telling him, look, you don't have an actual korban, but you can sit down and eat and drink, and that's going to be as if you brought a korban. That's what Hashem is telling Yaakov Avinu. And what's Yaakov Avinu's response? Yaakov Avinu, what do you mean? I'm in the middle of traveling. It's the middle of the day. I'm not going to sit down and eat and drink. I have a job to do. I'm supposed to get somewhere. I can't just like sit. I can't make a rest stop in the middle of the day for no reason. It's the sun hasn't gone down yet. It's still the middle of the day. I'm still supposed to be traveling.
There's a Chamishim Riddas at the annual.
Oh, 1 second. We'll get to that point in a second. Right? We find this midah of going back to what we said last week with the contrast between Yaakov and Esav. So we said that Esav is from Lashon Asui. Esav is made. When he was born, he was already hairy. He was already a made person. He didn't have to work on himself anymore. That's what Esav believes. I don't have to work on myself. I am who I am, Bezo. Right? Yaakov Avinu is the opposite. Yaakov Avinu is constantly working on himself. He's Yeshiva Olam. He's learning Torah. He's trying to make himself into a better person as much as he can. Right? So Yaakov Avinu is trying, if you want to say it in different terms, that Esav is the epitome of laziness. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to work on myself. I am, and that's it. And just accept it and deal with it. That's Esav. Yaakov is trying to work on himself and do as much as he can. But we find that when Yaakov Avinu gets to Haran, so we'll see that in next week's parak. So he meets the shepherds, and he sees like the shepherds are like, he helps them get water or whatever, and then they start going home or something like that. No, he sees the shepherds and they're like hanging around by the well. So Yaakov was like, what do you mean? What are you hanging out by the well? You're supposed to be it's not time for you to like hang out and finish up the job in the middle of the day. You're supposed to be working, right? You can't be lazy. Right, so it's the same. It's that same midah over here by Yaakov. It's like it's the middle of the day. I'm supposed to be traveling. I can't just sit down and start eating. That's Yaakov. He's working on himself. He's not lazy. So what's this thing of 50 degrees? Okay, So it says Lo yarad shemesh chamishim yeridos. The sun hasn't gone down 50 degrees. So what's that talking about? So we know that the sun moves, let's say, in a circular motion, right? And a circle is made up of 360 degrees. Right? So from one point where the sun is to the exact same point again the next day is 360 degrees. Right? So that means that if you want to split it in half, that's a 24-hour period. If you want to split it in half, every day is 180 degrees and every night is 180 degrees. 180 degrees where the sun's above the horizon and 180 degrees where it's below the horizon. Right? That's 180 degrees. Now, so 12 hours is 180 degrees. 6 hours, right? Half of 12 hours is 90 degrees, right? So from the sun to go from early morning, from let's say using the perfect day where sunrise is 6 o'clock and sunset is 6 o'clock, right? A perfect 12-hour day. So from the sun to go from 6 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock in the afternoon is 90 degrees, right? Now, the question is, we said that Yaakov Avinu got there in midday. He got there 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, Yaakov Avinu was telling Hashem, well, but the sun didn't go down yet, 50 degrees. What 50 degrees? From 12 o'clock in the afternoon till sunset is 90 degrees, not 50 degrees.
It wasn't the winter.
What? No, in winter and summer it doesn't matter. Winter and summer just determines how long how long those degrees are going to be in terms of minutes, in terms of times on the clock. But it's the same amount of degrees. It's always going to be.
It's not exactly 6 hours.
What?
We count.
No, in Hanami, it's not going to be 6 hours on the clock, but it's going to be 6 sun hours, 6 shows manias, right? Which is always going to be 90 degrees. So why is that going to say 50 degrees?
You're right.
Why is he saying 50 degrees? He is at 90. He knows he's at 90, and he says it hasn't gotten to 50 yet.
No,
Hasn't even gotten to 50.
till Shkia is going to be. Till Shkia is going to be another 90. So he's saying it hasn't gone down 50 degrees. There's another 50 degrees for it to go down, but it's not 50 degrees. 50 degrees is going to be somewhere like
It
yeah.
hasn't gone down 50 yet.
Midday the sun is here, so when it has to be dark, when it's dark, it should be here 90 degrees. That's what he's saying.
No, but he's saying maybe by afternoon at 50 degrees, then maybe I could have a meal. But right now it's at 90.
You're saying that Yaakov Avinu didn't mean that he would only sit down if it's night. He would sit down if it's like getting closer to night, but it's not even close to night. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear.
And 50
not even
maybe some
50.
number that
Not even 50.
it's more.
It's not even. I hear.
It's 90.
It's like 50 degrees would be, let's say, something like 3:30 in the afternoon.
And that's the time you sit down for your soup.
Okay, so you're saying like if it was 3:30 in the afternoon, now that it's only 12, so I'm not gonna. I hear.
That's what I thought.
The Marzu asked this question.
Why do we translate Yeridos as degrees?
I don't know.
Maybe Yeridos is 2 degrees. It's gonna have 50. It's like 45.
It could be. It could be. The Marzu entertains the possibility that whoever will pick the Eliezer is working with a different view exactly or using different terminologies for what we say about degrees in geometry or whatever. It could be it's working with a different system. I saw Gishmak Pshat in the Sefer Zichron Yitzchak on the Ramban and Chumash in Parshas Vayetze. He says like this. What's the problem? It's 12 o'clock now, right? And Yaakov is saying there's another 90. It should be saying that there's 90 degrees till the sun goes down, not 50 degrees. So the Zichron Yitzchak says no, we're making a mistake. It's not 12 o'clock now. Said that Yaakov got there at 12 o'clock, but then he went and he davened Mincha. Well, of course he's going to daven Mincha, right? So it's 12 o'clock, right? Got to daven Mincha. Now he davens Mincha. The Gemara in Brachis says, it says that Chasidim Rishonim, it would take them 3 hours to daven. An hour beforehand, an hour to daven, and an hour afterwards. So we could say that Yaakov Avinu didn't take him much 3 hours, but it took him a little bit less than 3 hours. 3 hours would be 45 degrees, right? And then it would make it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that would be halfway towards the evening. So we could say that no, it took Yaakov Avinu, a little bit less than 3 hours. So that, a little bit more than 3 hours, right? So that we make, so that he, no, less, a little bit less than 3 hours.
So then you get the commission.
Right, so a little bit less than 3 hours, right? So a little bit less than 3 hours. So then he, let's say he davened, and now it's 45. He davened 45 degrees in the day. It's 45 degrees from Chatzos, 50 degrees, whatever. And then, now he's saying there's only 50 left. 50 left till the left. So it's like 3. So we assume that we were talking about 12 o'clock. And he's saying no, it's really like more like 2:30 in the afternoon or something like that. And he's saying 50 degrees left from there. Okay, slightly different shot. Okay, let's go weiter. So again, Hashem invited Yaakov to sit down and eat and whatever, and Yaakov said, "No, I still have to travel because it's the middle of the day." So what happens? And not being in its time, the sun came down in the west, and the sun set. Hashem made an ace that the sun went down, even though it was too early for the sun to go down. And Yaakov looked and he saw the sun going down in the west. And he slept there. It says in the pasuk, he slept there because the sun hath come. Fine. Later. Yaakov 12 avonim me'avnei hamizbeach. Yaakov Avinu took 12 stones from the stones of the mizbeach shenekad alav Yitzchak of Aviv. 12 stones from the mizbeach that his father Yitzchak had been bound upon. The pasuk says, "Vayikach me'avnei hamakoim." He took from the stones of the place. What's the place? So Radah says that it's the place that Yitzchak Avinu had previously been bound over there by Kedah Yitzchak. So Yaakov Avinu took those stones from that mizbeach. And Yaakov Avinu put those stones around his head at that place. To teach us, to teach him, it was a siman. It's a siman that in the future he's destined to have come from him 12 tribes. 12 rocks, 12 tribes. And all of those 12 stones became like one rock under his head when he was sleeping. Like Rashi and Chumash says that they were fighting over which one gets to sleep under his head, so they all turned into one. But Medrash here says that what's the significance of the 12 becoming one? To teach you that in the future, all of Klal Yisrael is going to be like one nation in the land. Even though we're 12 tribes, we're going to be like one nation. It's one nation in the land, not 12 nations. Klal Yisrael split up into 12. It's one big nation of Klal Yisrael. Okay, so Yaakov Avinu took the 12 stones from the mizbeach that Yitzchak had previously been nekad on. The Zayis Ranan asked a kasha. Zayis Ranan in the Yalkut Shemaini in Remez Kuf Yud Ches, when the Yalkut Shemaini brings down this medrash, the Zayis Ranan asks like this. He says, there's a halacha that the stones of the mizbeach are kadosh, and they're also to get benefit from it. It's also mana, right? It belongs to the base of it belongs to Hashem, to the Gvoya. So how can Yaakov Avinu use that for his personal use to put it under his head? It's also.
We're assuming now it's different stones than Yitzchak used, or they're all.
No, we're saying it's the same stones that made up the mizbeach that Yitzchak was nekad on, right?
Okay, but we're assuming that has the same kedusha as the mizbeach. When you say the mizbeach, right? Don't you mean the mizbeach after Am Yisrael came there to Israel? They made a mizbeach, and
No.
When Yitzchak mizbeach.
Yeah. When Avraham Avinu went to do the Kedah Yitzchak, so he took 12 stones or whatever. He built them up as a mizbeach, and he tied Yitzchak onto that mizbeach. Right? On that mizbeach. And those stones became Kodesh. So how could Yaakov Avinu derive benefit from those stones? They're Kodesh.
Didn't he use wood?
He used wood on top of the mizbeach for the fire, but not the mizbeach itself is made out of stone. Okay, so the Zayis Ranan says, and don't tell me that the kedusha of this mizbeach was only temporary; it wasn't permanent, because he says that this is also the mizbeach we spoke about before. That this is also the mizbeach that Noach had sacrificed on. So you see, it's not a temporary mizbeach. It's a permanent mizbeach. It even existed even before Yitzchak. So how could it be that Yaakov Avinu derived benefit from those stones? So then the Zayis Ranan says, maybe you'll tell me it was pikuach nefesh because he's using it to save himself from the animals. He says pikuach nefesh, But pikuach nefesh, it would only be mutter if those are the only stones in the entire area. It's hard to tell me that these were the only stones in the entire area that pikuach nefesh demanded that he had to use dafka these stones to protect himself. So the Zayas Rambam says a chiddush like this. He says that when we say that, this actually it applies to a general thing in all of Torah. When there's something that's usher, right, it's only the actual technical isser is only there in the normal circumstances, right? For example, I don't know. Let's say if you eat pig, the Torah says you're not allowed to eat pig. Yeah. What if I eat pig, but I eat it without chewing it, or I eat pig raw, or something like that? I don't know. Eating pig raw, probably also. Right? So that's not the normal way of eating pig, right? You don't eat it raw. You don't eat it without chewing it. It's like a food. And you do it in a weird way, so it's usher, but you don't get malchus for it. It's not punishable. Right?
Eating milk.
What?
That has not been cooked.
Right, because that's not even also midaraisa, because the whole is bishul. But anyway, so he wants to say that over here, when something is hektish and it's also to derive benefit from it, then it's only also to derive benefit from it in the usual way that you derive benefit, right? But since Yaakov was using the stones in a weird way, putting it around your head to protect you from animals is not a regular way of getting benefit from stones. That's not normal people aren't using stones for that purpose. So then he says that it's going to be mutter, because that's not called getting benefit. That's not called a hana. That's the chiddush of the Zayas Rambam and the Yalkut. We'll speak back about this in a few minutes. Right, let's go back there. Rabbi Levi says, "Ba'isai Laila Herulei Kadosh Baruch Hu es kol ha'isais." And that night Hashem showed him all different signs. Herahu sulam amed min ha'aretz v'ad hashamayim. Hashem showed Yaakov Avinu a sulam, a ladder that was standing from the heavens all the way from the earth all the way to the heavens. Shneimar, it says the pasuk, "Vayachaloim," he dreamt, "V'hine sulam," and behold, there was a ladder. So Yaakov Avinu had the famous dream with the ladder. And the ministering angels were going up and down the ladder. And the ministering angels saw the face of Yaakov Avinu. And what did they say? They said, this face is like the face of the animal on the kisei hakavod. What's this talking about? So if you look in the psukim towards the beginning of Yecheskel, when Yecheskel's nevuah describes the kisei hakavod, the chair of glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it says that there were 4 creations, the images of 4 different creations that were on the kisei hakavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One is a lion, who's the king of animals, of chayos. One is a nesher, which is pashas an eagle, which is the king of birds. One is a kruv, which is a cherub, a type of malach, which is like the king of malachim. And one is a person, and who is the face of that person? So the Medrash is saying over here, and it's also Gemara Chulin, that the face of that person was Yaakov Avinu. So when the angels were going up and down in Shemayim, and they saw Yaakov Avinu, and they went up to Shem, and they saw the kisei hakavod, they said, "Hey, that face of the kisei hakavod, that's the face of Yaakov Avinu." That's what the angels saw over there. What? Because these 4 creations that I said that are on the kisei hakavod, they're known as the dalad chayos, the 4 chayos.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're called in literature. I think it might even be in the Psukim in Yecheskel, the arba chayos, the 4 beasts. I don't know, something like that. And obviously, the Gemara Bava Basra says that Yaakov Avinu looked like Adam Rishon. So the idea of Yaakov Avinu being on the kisei hakavod represents the fact that Yaakov Avinu was sort of a tikkun for the chet of Adam Rishon. He was the Muslim, a complete person. So Yaakov Avinu was a complete person. So that's why his face was dafka on the kisei hakavod. And the idea of the kisei hakavod represents the fact that these 4 animals are under the kisei hakavod, and Hashem is on top of them. Hashem, even though they're kings of their particular domains. The lion is the king of the chaya, is the king of the jungle, whatever. So, but Hashem is still king of the lion, or the nesher is the king of the eagle, is the king of the birds. Hashem is the king of the eagle, etc. There's an interesting drush they say over here from Reb Shimshon Me'asr Polio. Because in Yaakov Avinu's dream, so when he wakes up, he says, Ochein yesh HaShem b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. He says, Ochein, indeed, HaShem is in this place, v'anochi lo yadati, and I didn't know. So Reb Shimshon Me'asr Polio explains the pasuk a little bit differently with his mahalach. It says, Ochein is Rashi Tevis, Aryeh, Kruv, Nesher. So Yaakov Avinu says in the dream, after he had this dream, he says, Ochein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. Ochein, I knew about that by the Kisei Kavod there's Ochein, Aryeh, Kruv, and Nesher. V'anoichi lo yadati. But Anoichi, which is Rashi Tevis, Aryeh, Nesher, Kruv, Yaakov, lo yadati. I didn't know that my face was up there in Shemayim. That I only know about because of this dream. That was revealed to me in the dream. That's the Reb Shimshon Me'asr Polio. The problem with the vart is, it's such a good vart. How could there be a problem with it, right? The problem with the vart is like this. Really, in Yechezkel, there's sort of a stira between different parts of Yechezkel. What were the four creatures? Was it Aryeh, Kruv, Nesher, man, right? A lion, a cherub, eagle, and a person? Or was it lion, ox, eagle, person? Was it an ox or a cherub? Which one was it? An ox is the king of the behemoths, a shar is the king of behemoths, and a kruv is the king of the malachim. So which one was the fourth animal? A shar or an ox, or a kruv? So Chazal tell us in different midrashim, Medrash Eicha, a few places, that before the Chet HaEgel, it was a shar, and after the Chet HaEgel, because Klal Yisrael was Chet with the image of a cow, or a bovine image, a cow, a calf, an ox, it's all the same family, right? So Hashem took away the shar from the Kisei Kavod and replaced it with a kruv. Right? That's the Medrash tells us. So now, if that's true, so then you lost the whole part from Shimshon Me'asr Polio, because Ochein is Aryeh, Kruv, Nesher, but there's no kruv. It wasn't a kruv yet. It was only a shar. Okay, that's a good vart. Yeah, but this is the ha'ara that they ask in this vart. Maybe it's machlokes somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's going on the future. Elu oilim ve'elu yardim. These angels were going up. These angels were going down. Shnemer v'nei malachei elikim oilim v'yardim bay. Behold, the angels of Hashem are going up and coming down on that ladder.
Sorry.
We spoke about.
Sorry, it would be a bigger chiddush then. Even though I can see the future of my future generation, I didn't know that my face was there, with one of them. Even though they're gonna change between ox and malachim.
It could be.
In a crew.
Saying it's going on the future.
If it's going on the future, it's a bigger chiddush when it says anoichi.
Right. So I hear.
That word, I knew, but that word, that extension, that my face is up there, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah. So we said that the angels are going up and the angels are going down. We spoke about before when we were talking like in Pirkei like Chaf or something, like way before. The question, the famous question: if angels have wings, so why do they need a ladder to go up? Right? We spoke about this. Why do they need to go down? Why do they need to go up? They have a ladder. Why do they need a ladder? They have wings.
The brothers were the same angels that lost their wings.
Right, they lost the wings because they gave it their wings to the lady to be Mizana, and she took the wings and flew away. Right, there's such a thing. And there was another vart that somebody wanted to say that they were baby angels, that they didn't grow their wings yet. Whatever. Okay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Yaakov Avinu the four kingdoms that are going to rule over Klal Yisrael and the destruction of those four kingdoms. Right, we spoke about that in Parak Ches, about the Arba Malchios, the different Golios. First Hashem showed Yaakov Avinu the ministering angel of the king of the Malchus Bavel, of the kingdom of Bavel, that it went up 70 rungs on the ladder, and then it came down. Right? That represents the fact that Bavel is going to rule over Klal Yisrael for 70 years, and then Bavel is going to fall down. Veherohu sar malchus modai oile chamishim. Okay, so let's just read it like this. First of all, the way I have it printed over here, I think it's a mistake, and the other midrashim say it differently. Vayikra Rabbah Parsha Chavtes Siman Beis has it differently in line with the Gemara of Avodah Zarah Daf Tes. So we'll read it from the way I think that it's supposed to be read. Even though I looked in the manuscript and they didn't fix this up, but it says. Actually, in the manuscript edition, this part was also taken out. Like I said last week, a lot of things in this part for some reason didn't exist there. But it says, "V'haro sar malchus paras umadai." Hashem showed him the ministering angel of the kingdom of Paras and Madai, Persia and Media. It went up 52 rungs and then it fell down, representing the fact that Paras and Madai collectively are going to rule over Klal Yisrael for 52 years. V'haro sar malchus yovan. Not Paras, but Yavan. Hashem showed Yaakov Avinu the ministering angel of the kingdom of Greece that's going to go up 180 rungs and then fall, representing the fact that Greece is going to rule over Eretz Yisrael for 180 years and then their downfall will come. That was the Malchus Chashmonaim. And Hashem showed him the ministering angel of the kingdom of Edom that went up and up and up, and it never came down. V'omer, and the pasuk says about the king, about Edom, it says El Abamase of Edom El Elyon. It's talking about Esav saying, "I'm going to be El Abamase of. I'm going to go up on the thick bama, on the thick high place. Edom El Elyon. I'm going to make myself similar to Hashem." Yaakov Avinu said, I guess to the ministering angel of Esav, he said, "Af el sha'ol turad el yarkes evar." However, to the sha'ol, which is a type of Gehenna, you're going to go down el yarkes evar, to the insides of a big pit. That's where you're going to go down. Even though Yaakov Avinu didn't see the downfall of Edom, right? Because that represents the galus that we're in now, which is going to be a very overly long galus, and the end is not necessarily in sight from the beginning. And we don't know exactly when it's supposed to end. But Yaakov Avinu says to him, but you're going to fall down. Don't think you're going to keep going up and up and up and be like Hashem. You're going to fall down. Similarly, Hashem said to the ministering angel of Edom, this is a pasuk in Ovadia in Treasar, which is read as the Haftarah Parshas Vayishlach. It's talking about the downfall of Esav. It says, Im kanesh, what's the pasuk say? I just lost the place. Im tagbia kanesher. The end of the pasuk says, Im tagbia kanesher. If you're going to go up, raise yourself up like an eagle. Ve'im bein kechavim sim kinacha. And if you place your nest amongst the stars, when you're going to go all the way up, and that's where you're going to think you're going to live. Misham oiridcha nu'um Hashem. From there, I'm going to bring you down. Is the word of Hashem. So Hashem says that to Esav, you think you're going to keep going up, but really, I'm going to make sure that you come down. Some interesting thing over here. It's muvur over here that the ladder that Yaakov Avinu saw in his dream had at least 180 rungs. Right? We don't know what.
Up to Shemayim, I'm sure.
Yeah, but we don't know exactly how many, but it was at least 180. The Rambam in Moriah when he talks about the story of Yaakov Avinu with this dream, right? So he brings B'Shem Medrash Tanchuma that there were 4 rungs on the ladder of Yaakov Avinu. He just says 4. He doesn't bring this whole thing about the Arba Golios. He just says that there were 4 rungs. And different Mepharshim speak about what's the significance of 4 rungs, whatever. But
according to this, it was way more than 180.
Right.
He didn't say at least 180 because Edom kept going.
Right. I'm saying we can for sure quantify that as at least 180 because that's the highest number that we see. But it could be an infinite. I don't know. Hopefully it's not infinite. Hopefully it's almost over.
Well, we've been promised that it's not.
Yeah. Okay. Weiter. Mikana Tolomaid. Oh, sorry. I skipped the line. Hishkim Yaakov b'fachad gadol. Yaakov Avinu woke up with great fear. V'amar, he said, Beis Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'makom hazeh. The house of HaShem is at this place. Shneimar, it says the pasuk, Vayira Vayimar. He was scared and he said, Manoira ha'makom hazeh. How awesome is this place? So he said that this is the place of the Hashem's house. This is Hashem's house. Mikana Tolomaid, says the Medrash. From here you learn. These words are actually a famous song nowadays. Anyone who prays in this place in Yerushalayim, it's as if he prayed in front of the cloud, in front of the chair of glory of HaShem. Because the gates to the heaven are there. And there is an open Pesach, an open door to hear the prayers. Because it says in the Pasuk, Yaakov said, and this is the gate to the heavens. So this place in Yerushalayim, this place by the Makom HaMikdash, is a place that a person can daven and it goes straight to HaShem. Because over there's an opening, the opening goes straight to HaShem, and the tefillos can go straight to that opening. You're not in Shemayim. So it says that if you pray in Yerushalayim, but Makom HaMikdash Yerushalayim, it's as if you're praying in front of the Kisei Kavod, like as if you're mamish in Shemayim. Weiter. V'yoshav Yaakov lulkeit es avanim. So he woke up and he went to gather up the stones. U'motza yisam kulam even achas. And he found first of all, why did Yaakov want to go gather the stones? Okay. Like what's the significance? So maybe like he realized that he's not supposed to be using them, but he had to use them for whatever reasons, because it was Pikuach Nefesh or whatever, and then he wanted to gather them up and put them back nicely afterwards. But what did he find? He found that those 12 stones had turned into one stone. And Yaakov took that one stone and he put it as a matzeivah in the place. Rashi in Chumash speaks about the difference between a mizbeach and a matzeivah. What's the difference between a mizbeach and a matzeivah? They're both made out of stone. A mizbeach is made out of multiple stones, and a matzeivah is made out of one stone. That's what Rashi says. Yeah,
that's why it's prohibited to make a matzeivah.
Right.
It says in the prohibition of the Torah, don't build matzeivah.
Right. So Yaakov took that one stone and he made it into matzeivah. What?
Prohibition is because of what?
Right. The Sifri in Parshas Shoftim says that matzeivah was ohuv l'fnei hamakom in the time of the Avos, in the time of Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov. Matzeivah was something that Shem liked. And then afterwards, when the Goyim started using it for Avodah Zarah, so then it became sonui l'fnei hamakom. It became something hated in front of HaShem. And then HaShem said it's osur to make a matzeivah. Lo yisakim l'cha matzeivah.
I could be wrong, but I realized in this past year, reading Bereshis, that only Yaakov ever made a matzeivah. Abraham and Yitzchak never did. According to the Pesukim, Yaakov made a few.
It could be.
I was wondering why. They made a mistake.
It could be. You're right.
Yaakov maybe very few.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I could be wrong, but
no, I seem to remember something like that also from the Pesukim. It could be you're right. That before explicitly in the Pesukim it sounds like only, but also the word mizbeach. It could be that the word mizbeach is in a general term, which also could mean a matzeivah. Like a matzeivah is a type of mizbeach.
What do you call a matzeivah in English? A burial stone or whatever?
What do you call a mizbeach in English?
No. I'm saying. No. I'm saying that the thing they put in cemeteries.
A tombstone.
Tombstone.
Yeah.
Tombstone.
What do you want in your tombstone?
No.
Pepperoni and cheese.
You call it a matzeivah?
Yeah. Because it's one stone. Are they really one stone? I don't know. I don't know how they. I've never.
I thought a matzeivah was a few stones, like an oat.
I know somebody who makes tombstones. Who was it? I know somebody who's.
Ross Stewart.
Who?
Used to be, what's it called? Yeah, he used to work with
I don't know. If I remember who it was, I'll have to try to ask that person, because I'm not sure how they make them exactly. Are they really made out of stone? Maybe they're coated. I don't know. Just stone. Anyways, so the question is like this: there's a halacha that something that was used for a private person, you're not allowed to use it to make a mizbeach or a matzeivah or whatever, right? So how could it be that Yaakov Avinu took these stones that he used as a pillow, and now he's using that stone that he's taking his pillow and he's making his pillow into a matzeivah or a mizbeach for HaShem? You can't use something that you use for personal use for HaShem.
Because it was a miracle. Because there was a nice.
Oh, 1 second. So this question, the Tur, Pirush HaTur al-Torah, not the Balaturim, the same person, but besides the Balaturim, which is like Gematrias and other like Jewish type things, he has like a longer Pirush on Chumash called Pirush HaTur, Pirush HaTorah Aruch on Chumash, which is similar to like the Tur and the Tur, like where he brings down all different Rishonim, Ramban, and different antithesis or whatever. So the Tur has a Pirush on Chumash where he asks this question in Pirush HaTur al-Torah, Bereshis Chav Ches Yud Ches. And he answers, no, that's only by a mizbech, but by a bama, it's mutter. A mizbech is like in the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan or whatever, that's a mizbech. So he says that you can't use something that a person used for personal use as for the stones of mizbech, that you can't do. But for a bama, which is a private mizbech, that you're allowed to do. That's what the Pirush HaTur al-Torah says. Maisa, the Tshuva from the Chassam Sofer in Orach Chaim Simin Mem, Tshuva's Chassam Sofer, where he asks the same question. He's mechaven to Pirush HaTur's question, and he says, "And don't tell me that by a bama it's mutter, only by mizbech it's aser." And he brings the whole arichas why also by a bama should be aser. So he says, "So how can it be that Yaakov Avinu did this?" So he says a teretz like this, based on the Zayis Ranan that we said a few minutes ago. The Zayis Ranan says that Yaakov Avinu took the stones and put it around his head when he went to sleep, that's not called getting hana from it, because that's a weird way of getting hana. So the Chassam Sofer says that because, just like the Zayis Ranan says that that's not called getting enough from these stones, because the Zayis Ranan's problem was that they had previously been in Mizbeach. Our problem now is how could you now take it into Mizbeach? Some says it wasn't called like he used it. That's not called using it. It's not klish nishtamish by head. You didn't use it. It was you did some weird thing with it that you happened to be using it as a pillow, but that's not something you use stones for, to use it as a pillow. So some services that's why it was mutter, because it wasn't called that he used it. In the Teres Moshe from Chassam Sofer, and also in Chidush Chassam Sofer al-Torah in one of the footnotes, and also the Teres Shlema from Menachem Kasher, so they want to say like what Rabbi Pomerantz wanted to say. That, I mean, maybe that's what he wanted to say. That when Yaakov went to sleep, he took 12 stones and put it under his head, and that's what he put it around himself, and that's what he went to sleep with, right? He woke up, now it's one stone. It's the same thing, or it's a different thing? It's a new thing, right? That's not the same thing that Yaakov Avinu used. It's a different thing. It's a new. It's a new object. So this new object you're allowed to use in the mizbeach.
We don't know when it happened, so
we don't know while he was sleeping and before he.
While he was sleeping, so he was still using cards.
No, but he.
What to say?
I was thinking that also, but if it happened while he was sleeping, you can't say that he used it because he didn't actively go and use it, because you can only say he used it if he did something with it. He didn't do anything with it. Like it changed while he was sleeping underneath him. So it's hard to say that. Now I'm asking.
I wanted to say something totally different.
Oh, 1 second. We compare this to by the Mishkan. So one of the jewelry they used for the gold in the Mishkan was the kumas. The kumas, Rashi says, what's kumas? Kumas is kan mokim zima. Right? It's some sort of promiscuous type of jewelry or whatever that they, whatever. That's what some Rishonim say. Some Rishonim say it's the worst things, whatever. But whatever exactly the kumas was, it wasn't a nice thing. It's still they used that for the mizbeach. They used that for the tzipor and the mizbeach, I think it was. So how could it be? It's like a prosta thing. So they say, I think the Ramban says, because they melted down the gold, and now you use it, you fashion the gold to make something else out of it. But it's a new thing. It's not the same thing anymore. So you say the same thing over here. It's not those 12 stones anymore. It's a new stone. This rock is sort of as if it was like you melted down the 12 rocks, and you made a new rock, and now you're using that new rock as a matzeivah. Now, what did you want to answer?
I just thought that the halacha doesn't apply here. HaShem made a nace with these 12 stones. He made a nace and made it into one stone, almost as if he wanted. This rock is holy. It's always holy, and it should be used for a holy use. Matzeivah is a holy use.
Okay, maybe you're saying similar.
He made it a sign. Yaakov didn't know what happened. Pitom, Yaakov saw Hashem did a huge nace.
You're saying something similar to the next teretz. Rav Chaim Kanievsky in Derech Sicha
Wants you to use that for
matzeivah
for something, doesn't you can't touch that anymore. Stafka.
Rav Chaim Kanievsky in Derech Sicha on page Kuf Mem Vav 146. So they asked Chaim Kanievsky this question, and he said that even though normally it would be asur in these circumstances, but over here it's mutter because it was before Matan Torah, and before Matan Torah you could make cheshbonos of mitzvahs, like we spoke from the Nefesh HaChaim in Pirkei DeRabbi. We spoke about this, that the Nefesh HaChaim says, how could Yaakov Avinu marry 2 wives? So Yaakov Avinu figured out al pislay or whatever. This is mutter for him, or this is what he's supposed to do. It's similar to what you're saying, that like Hashem told him to do. Hashem sort of telling him to do it. But you only find that really like if Hashem tells you to do it. You're saying like hara shah, which is like a slightly different heter. He's saying before Matan Torah. You're saying like hara. I think you're saying hara shah, right? Okay, but we don't find that Hashem told him dafka to do it. Okay, either way. Okay, fine. So what did Yaakov going to do? V'yorad lo shemen min hashamayim v'yatzak alau. And oil came down from the heavens, and Yaakov took that oil and he poured it over the mizbeach, over the matzeivah. Shenema v'yitzak shemen al reisha. Yaakov poured oil on the head of that matzeivah. The reason why the man over here is saying that the oil came from Shemayim is because the pasuk says that Yaakov poured oil on the matzeivah, and the question is, where did Yaakov have oil from? We know that we said that Yaakov was robbed; he didn't come with anything, right? So where's the oil coming from? So that's I would have said that we said before that he had food with him, right? So maybe the oil is from the food. That's what I would have said. Here the Medrash is saying, he got oil from Shemayim. There's another Mahalach in the Rishonim. The antithesis on Chumash, I don't remember which one, Moshe Zakenim, Tas Zakenim, Hardar Zakenim, one of these forms, they say that Yaakov says, Kiva Makli Avarti Yasir, with my stick I passed over the Yarden. It means only with my stick and with nothing else, right? So the antithesis say that Yaakov's stick that he had was actually hollow. And inside this stick, he would keep oil. Why would Yaakov Avinu need oil? Because if he wanted to learn in the middle of the night, so he needed something to burn, to keep a fire. Right? So he had extra oil with him inside his stick, and that's the oil that he used over here by the matzeivah. He poured from that oil. What did Hashem do? Nota. This is an interesting message over here. Nota regel yaminoi. Hashem took his right leg because we know Hashem doesn't actually have a right leg. V'tava ha'even ad imke sahaimes, and Hashem sort of pushed in the stone until the depths of the deepnesses. Hashem stepped it down. Also he saw sniff la'aretz, and Hashem made that stone as a part of the land. Adam sh'isa sniff la'kippah, like a man who makes a sniff for a kippah to make. I'm not sure exactly what this is talking about, but it means you're strengthening some sort of dome. So just like you're strengthening some sort of dome, so Hashem is using this stone to strengthen the world. Therefore, that stone is called the rock of the Shasiyah, of the how would you translate it? Providing, the stone that provides. Shemisham hu tabur haaretz, because that place is the tabur haaretz, the navel of the land, the belly button of the world. Meaning it's in the middle, the main part of the world. Misham nimtacha or niftacha kol haaretz, and from there all of the world developed, or all of the world spread about. V'achal Hashem oimid, and upon that place the sanctuary of Hashem stands. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, "V'even hazeh asher samti matzeivah," and that stone which I made into a matzeivah, yihiyah beis elikim, it will be the house of Hashem. So that's a reference to the fact that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be built in the future on that place. For Nofel Yaakov al Ponov Artzal Lefnei Even HaShasiyah, and Yaakov Avinu fell on his face on the ground in front of the Even HaShasiyah. V'yamispalel Lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu v'Omar, and he prayed in front of Rebbein Kol Elamim, Master of the universes, Im Tishiveni L'Mokem Hazeh B'Sholom, if you return me to this place in peace. Right, he's on his way to Haran, so he says to Hashem, if you return me to this place in peace, whether that means to Eretz Yisrael, or it means to the place of his forefather, to the house of Yitzchak, or it means to Dafka, to the Mesa Mikdash, the Radal discusses this. As bechol lefanecha, I will slaughter for you zivchei soides v'oiles, slaughterings of korban teidas and korban oilas. Shnamar, it says the pasuk vayider Yaakov neder lemar. Yaakov made promise, they promised saying. So Yaakov made a promise that if Hashem, if you make everything work out, I'm going to bring korbanos to this place. V'sham hinyeches the be'er, and Yaakov left the be'er over there, the well over there. I don't know what that means, why we're saying that. Umisham nasa raglav, and there Yaakov Avinu lifted his feet. Uchaheref ayin bala Choron. And like the blink of an eye, he reached Choron. Shneimar, it says the pasuk Vayisa Yaakov Ragolov. Yaakov lifted his feet. Va'omer, and elsewhere the pasuk says Vayitza Yaakov Beersheba Yela Choron. He left Beersheba and right away he went to Choron. So you see that Yaakov Avinu got to Choron right away. It was a kfutza sederach, right? Our Medrash is saying that the kfutza sederach was from the Har Moriah to Choron. The Gemara that I mentioned before says that the kfutza sederach was from Choron. He went to Choron, and then he remembered that he passed the Beis Hamikdash and didn't pray to Hashem, so he wanted to go back. So then he had kfutza sederach from Choron to Har Moriah. We're saying he had from Har Moriah to Choron. Okay, a slightly different shot. HaEl HaKadosh Nikdash B'tzedakah. Right, the pasuk in Yeshaya that we say in Shemana Esrei during Yom Neroim, HaEl HaKadosh, the holy God, Nikdash B'tzedakah, is sanctified through tzedakah. And all the heavenly beings answered and they said, "Blessed is Hashem, the holy God." HaEl HaKadosh. And the Marzu says that we were saying, the Kavan over here is we're saying that Yaakov Avinu, the third bracha of Shemana Esrei is Keneged Yaakov Avinu. We said before, Mogein Avraham is Keneged Avraham Avinu, Mechaye Mason is Keneged Yitzchak Avinu, who died by Akedas Yitzchak and came back to life. And now we're saying HaEl HaKadosh is Keneged Yaakov Avinu because it said that HaEl HaKadosh, Hashem is Nikdash B'tzedakah, Hashem is sanctified through tzedakah. So what's the tzedakah over here? Where do we see tzedakah? So the Marzu says, I think it's a difficult shot. The Marzu says that the tzedakah is that nether that Yaakov Avinu made a promise that if he's successful, he's going to bring karbanos, and when he comes back to Eretz Yisrael, so that's called tzedakah. I don't know why that's called tzedakah, because tzedakah is when you give like money to a poor person, you're helping some poor person. Making a karban is a nether, it's in the double. Why is it called tzedakah? I'm not sure why the Marzu says this pshat. But the Radal says that the pshat is the tzedakah that Hashem did for Yaakov Avinu. Hashem is sanctified through the tzedakah that he does himself. That Yaakov Avinu was poor and he didn't have anything with him, and when he crossed the Yarden, and Hashem gave him a bracha. We didn't speak about this in the Medrash, but the Psukim say that Hashem gave him a bracha in the dream and by Beis El, that he said that you're going to have a lot of children and you're going to get this land, etc. So that's the tzedakah that Hashem is giving to Yaakov Avinu, that is sanctifying Hashem. The fact that Hashem gives to other people, that makes Hashem holy, and that's why we're saying Baruch Ata Hashem HaEl HaKadosh. So we finished the story of Yaakov Avinu in Har Moriah, and Be'ezer Hashem next week we'll speak about Yaakov Avinu getting to Choron. Okay.